Welcome back, everyone, to the Complete Pineleaf. I am here in the library of Safadzir in Dolamroth, where I've been asked to do a little bit of research relating to the Corsairs. Hello there.
Well, the scholars here are at your disposal, of course.
Lotharil seeks information? What a wonder! She was never sought our knowledge before this. Perhaps she's begun to take seriously the duty with which she's been charged? At last! When I was her tutor, she was the very picture of an inattentive boredom. It is not of my greatest regrets that I was unable to impress upon her the importance of study. This is ancient history. What matters now is the present need. The scholars here are at your disposal, of course. Allow me to guide you in this course of study. Naramil and Noseth have traveled extensively throughout the kingdom of Gondor and can tell you a great deal about the land and our rich history. Noseth has a particular keen insight for the lineages of the king and of the stewards, and the political intentions of various lords and ladies. Kirhael can tell you a great deal about the Corsairs and the port from which they hail, Umbar, to the south across the bay. All right, good. So we need to speak with Neramil, Kirithel, and Noseth. All right. So now do is find them in this big place. This is a big building. Ah, with lots of stairs apparently. Up, up. Well then. Hello there.
Imrahil is well loved by the people, but his daughter Lotharil is untested and unproven.
Well, yes, a little bit untested perhaps. Lord Imrahil is the Prince of Dol Amroth, and he is the wise ruler of the city and its surrounding lands. He is going to Minas Tirith with many of his soldiers, but he's left some of his swan knights to serve his daughter Lotharil, who now rules the city during his absence. Imrahil is well loved by the people of Valfalis, but his daughter is untested and unproven. Numenorian traditions allow women to rule, but not all folk of Gondor remember such things. I have heard some dissatisfaction that she was chosen to rule the city while her father was away. But Lothriel is loyal and complies with her father's wishes, despite her young age and a tendency towards recklessness. She recently disagreed with an arrangement of marriage, but it is my understanding she will go through with the proposed match, despite her feelings, or the feelings of a great many of her people. Some things are not meant to be, and I fear there will be a reckoning for it. Hmm. Despite her feelings, or the feelings of a great many of her people. So it looks like there are a lot of people who don't really like the idea of this marriage. Well, then, let's see what she has to say about. What can you tell me about Lothar, Lothriel's betrothal? I will tell you what I think, but please do not convey my words outside of these walls. I don't wish to find myself in trouble for speaking in this way, but this is what I know. I've heard that the steward of Gondor, Denethor II, awoke from his slumber one night with a vivid memory of a dream. What the dream may have been, I never learned, but whatever it was compelled him to propose that Imrahil command his daughter Lothril to wed the steward's son Boromir. Th- Boromir, well, that match is never going to happen, that's for sure. And this rightly gives good folk pause, for Lothriel and Boromir are first cousins, and such close marriages harken back to the dark days before the fall of Numenor, when kin married kin, and much harm was done. Imrahil disapproves of the notion, and I understand that Boromir does as well, but neither man can refuse the steward his request. Lothriel has stated that she will consent to the marriage, if she must. But the prospect makes her unhappy, and I've heard that she has been steadily leaving the city to seek advice of the elves. Yes, I understand that quite sure. Imrahil and the Swan Knights. Okay, what about the Swan Knights? They are Prince Imrahil's personal fighting force and guard, highly skilled and respected. Most of the Swan Knights departed for Minas Tirith with the prince, but he commanded some remain behind in Dol Amroth to protect Lotharil. It's my understanding that she immediately sent some away to scout the land for anything that might pose a threat to her people. Well, yeah, I met one of them, so I guess that makes sense. Now, Boromir. Now, of course, Boromir is no longer with the living. I guess next one is downstairs. So that match is never going to happen. So what was in the dream that prompted this, supposed match that's never going to be? Ah, the next scholar.
I will tell you what I can about our kingdom. There is much of which I might speak.
The kingdom was first established in the wake of disaster. The land of Numenor fell beneath the waves. Only fast ships could save the household of Elendil and bring them to the shores. High King Elendil's sons ruled the kingdom together, but when the dark power returned to Middle-earth, Elendil and his son Isildur and Anarion were slain. The line continued by the way of Anarion's son through many years, until Eärnur, the last king of Gondor, disappeared into Minas Morgul and was never seen again. For more than 900 years, rule of the kingdom has passed down through the hereditary line of the ruling stewards, charged with maintaining the peace and welfare of Gondor until the line of kings is restored. Few believe that that will ever happen. Any claimant would need to prove an unbroken bloodline, a task that seems insurmountable to this poor scholar. Well, she doesn't know about Aragorn yet, of course. Does she have any things? Well, we have the geography of Gondor. There is a great variety of lands in Gondor, from the wooded slopes of the Blackroot Vale, where I've been, to the coastal cliffs of Belfalis, where I've just arrived. Many folk till the fields of Lamadon and work the fertile ground through which flows the five streams, further to the east in Lebanon. The land of Anorion lies beyond the White Mountains, and at the west eastern foot stands Minas Tirith, the greatest city of Gondor and tower of guard, from which the dark lands to the east are watched. Prince Imrahil has gone there with many hundreds of his finest warriors, for war certain to be joined in the coming weeks. If that is so, war will come first to Ithilien, the lands beyond the river Anduin, on the very border of the Black Land. Yeah, it's almost for certain. Though it looks like they've already come here, too. Hmm. Yes, I heard Lothariel has disapproved of the match. Oh, can you tell me about the stewards? I better ask that first. Ever since the line of the kings came to an end and the disappearance of Eärnur, Gondor has been ruled by the hereditary line of stewards. The steward that sits now in Minas Tirith is Denethor II, a wise man much like his father, who was the steward before him. Some 40 years ago, Denethor married Findulias, the sister of Prince Imrahil, and she bore him two sons. They are noble men, but they come rarely to Dol Amroth, and I have not seen them for many years. Findulias loved Denethor, but some say that the tower of stone in which she dwelt was not to her liking, and she died after a dozen years, far from the seaside cliffs that she loved. Denethor dotes now upon his sons. The eldest, Boromir, will become steward at when Denethor dies. Well, well, that's not going to happen. And he's betrothed to Lotharil of Dol Amroth, a match some find troubling. Oh, why troubling? Oh, well, yeah, well, it is not my place to speak of that. Perhaps Nulseth will wish to tell you more. She has more interest in such things than I. Yes, well, I've already spoken with Nulseth on that. Ah, well, there is much curiosity about. Hello there, I'm here to learn something about Umbar. I can teach you about the city of Umbar, or the kinstrifes that gave rise to the Corsairs, if you care to listen. All right.
Across the Bay of Belfalas, the harbour of Umbar provides the mooring for many ships.
South of Dol Amroth, across the Bay of Belfalas, the city of Umbar stands. Its large harbor provides the mooring for many great ships, and a mighty fortress was built there. It was an important port for the Númenóreans, but when strife split the loyalties of that people, Umbar became a contested land. It remained so throughout history, at times taken by Gondor, and other times occupied by the Black Númenóreans and their Haradrim allies. One of the most devastating losses of Umbar occurred following the Kinstrife, one of Gondor's darkest periods. The sons of Castamir the Usurper, and chief architect of the Kinstrife, escaped from Gondor and renamed themselves the Corsairs of Umbar. Castamir's sons were all slain, but their legacy remains. The Corsairs have caused much hardship across the coastline over the years. Alright, so the Corsairs are the descendants of the followers of Castamir. So, tell me about the Kinstrife. It's a sad portion of our history and not a pleasant to talk about, but in the name of study, I will do so. More than 1,000 years ago, the king of Gondor sent his son Valakar to the lands of Ravanian as an ambassador of peace. While in that place, Valakar and fell in love with a woman of that people who bore him a son, Eldakar. In time, Valakar succeeded to the throne of Gondor. Tensions began to grow in the southern reaches of the kingdom. What would happen when Valakar died and his son came to the throne? Ottokar did not possess the pure Númenórean blood, but a lesser proportion due to his northern mother. Ottokar did not sit on the throne for long before much of Gondor erupted into open revolt. A relative from a distant branch of the family line seized the throne, Castamir the usurper. The men of Gondor fought among themselves. They were dark and bloody days. Castamir was slain when, after 10 years, Ildikar returned at the head of the army. Castamir's sons fled to Umbar, where they became the first of the Corsairs. Alright, so it's Castamir's sons then who founded the Corsairs. Alright, and what do you think about the Corsairs? The Corsairs of Umbar have harried our coastline for many years, but the fighting forces of Gondor have always been sufficient to drive them away. It may be different now, for our attention must be split between the Corsairs' raiders from the south and the shadow that moves towards Minas Tirith from the east. Yeah, there is that little detail. And who are the heirs of Castamir? I do not think any true heirs of Castamir still live. That was long ago, and the soldiers of Gondor could conceive of no mercy for the sons of Castamir. I am certain that they were all slain. I am troubled by this title, however, for it means that whoever is using it knows how to manipulate the Corsairs. Evoking the name of Castamir is the way of a highly effective means to mobilizing the enemies of Gondor. There is more behind this increase in Corsair activity than there has been in the past. These heirs of Castamir may not be the heirs of truth, but they are certainly intent to continue the legacy of the trouble that it began so long ago. So they are Airs and spirits, so to speak. Now, what about TitanBar? Right? Where is he at? Ah, here he is. Oh, there, I spoke with your scholars.
I see that Noseth spoke to you of Lotharil's betrothal. I should have counseled restraint.
Ah, did my scholars help you learn anything about abuse, Pineleaf? It seems to me that the Corsairs are a dangerous threat, and Lotharil would be wise to recall the Swan Knights she has sent from the city. I hope the information of my scholars proved to be helpful to you and Lotharil, and awakens her to the uncertain future that awaits. Hmm. I see the notes that spoke to you of Lotharil's betrothal to Boromir. I should have counseled her to exercise restraint. None are happy at this match save Denethor, and as he is the ruling steward, there is none willing to speak against his wishes. All I know is that he had a dream of some sort that conceived him of the rightness of the match, but I don't know what it could have been. Well, I guess I'm not going to mention what happened there, but perhaps I should tell Lothriel about this. I have finished speaking with the scholars.
You have returned. Why do you appear so sorrowful? What is wrong?
There is no easy way to give such tidings as you have of Boromir, but you have to do the best you can and tell Lothriel of what he fell in battle protecting those who could not protect themselves. Her face betrays a confused mixture of emotions. I do not know what to say, Pineleaf. Boromir was a good man. He always had my love and respect, and I could have married him for Gondor. His father, the steward, dreamt of the triumph of the kingdom, and in the dream I was a garlanded queen in Minas Tirith, beneath the fair and golden sun. My father, too, had a similar dream. He dreamt that I was in a high place, wearing a golden crown. Lotharil wipes the dampened her eyes with the back of her sleeves. I mourn for my cousin Pineleaf, and for Gondor. I was unhappy with the marriage match, but now that he is gone, I'm sad for his passing, glad that he attained glory, and angry for my relief. I don't know how to feel. Well, there is that.
I will grieve at another time. For now I must be strong.
While my father is away, I must rule Dol Amroth. I don't have the time to come to terms with this lost Pineleaf. I will grieve at another time and reconcile my feelings then. For now, I must be strong. I sent forth the Swan Knights for two purposes. One was the purpose of a ruler, to ensure the safety of her people. The other purpose was that of a rebellious child acting out against the wishes of her father in the only way that she could. That purpose I regret. Now that the time for the Swan Knights to return to Dol Amroth, for I will have need of them if we are to survive the menace of Umbar and the heirs of Castamir. Travel first to the beacon of Amon Lontir, east of the city, and tell Nethros to return. He is the nearest Swan Knight, and is of advanced age, but he was not decreased his skill in one measure. Travel then to the beacon of Magon in Lamadon. Heladir is the knight that I sent to Lamadon, and he is also brave of heart. The last of the knights I sent forth was Rovalag, and he will be somewhere in the Blackroot Vale. I know not where. I know where he will be. I know where he will be. I will need to postpone the tour of the city for a while because it is time for me to head out and recall the Swan Knights, which is what I'll do in the next episode of The Complete Pineleaf.